Dragonfolk, I have a very important question to ask all of you. What does Magic the Gathering mean to you? Welcome on in, Dragonfolk. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I know I am. I'm happy to be back from my crazy little eventful weekend. You'll notice that the look has definitely changed. Very happy to know that I was at an emo night, and I've now officially adopted this look. So if you see this beanie more often, it's because I really do like it, and it's a neat little thing. But anyway, enough about my emo night. We're going to talk about what Magic means to us today. So, for those of you who don't know me, right, my name is Ashen Wings, and I am very indifferent on a lot of stuff that is happening with Magic the Gathering as of right now. So I started playing back right around mid to late 2020, right into kind of 2021, Zendikar Rising era, right? Set boosters were just coming out. It was a very new experience, I think, for me, because even though I had not played previously on a regular basis, I knew there was only one booster box, right? There was the booster box. That was it. I was also so used to Yu-Gi-Oh!, which only had one booster box, and that was it. You just had one kind of booster box, although there was the first edition and the unlimited, but theoretically, it was just, the same cards either or. Whereas with this, I went to go buy packs, and, it was a set booster that came with an art card and some other stuff. There were draft boosters, which is, I guess, what it originally was, right? You had, back when I was trying to buy, I was like, well, what's a draft booster? And it's a booster you use for drafting. And then I learned about collector boosters being the more expensive version of something. I saw the Commander Legends collector boosters as well, and I was like, well, this is definitely something that's a little extensive, so I wonder what that whole thing's about. And I gotta say, it was a lot to get into, but what I knew I loved about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is something that I figured I'd love about Magic the Gathering too, and that is its competitive scene. I do quite like a competitive scene. I like going against one another in a battle of skill and sometimes luck in regards to making your deck be better than the others, climbing the ranks, winning prizes, so on and so forth. That was my whole to do with it. And then I got into the collecting portion of it. I had seen I'll go ahead and post it up here. The very first card that got me into collecting was this one right here, the Godzilla cards. So these Godzilla cards were, all throughout Ikoria, and so I knew I had to get them. I went and found the avenues in which to purchase product online by singles, and I did such. I bought every single Godzilla card in foil and completed my collection. That included the Japanese exclusives that are in the Godzilla collection as well. I collected them all because I was like, this is really, really cool. I then, of course, came across this guy, which is Embereth Shieldbreaker, I want to say. And Embereth Shieldbreaker was the next card that I went, wow, this art's really cool. What is this art called? And I found out it was the showcase art for Throne of Eldraine. I learned about how Throne of Eldraine was all about special, grim fairy tale kind of, nursery rhyme themes. And I went, wow, well, this is really cool. I love this concept. I want to collect all these little showcase cards in foil as well. Then became my collecting habit, right, of Magic the Gathering. But I was never really an investor in the game, and I was never really a flipper. I never looked at Magic the Gathering as a way to make money. And to be honest, neither should you. I believe that there is better ways to make money in this world than with cardboard. But if it is something you do truly believe in, and it is something you wish to move forward with, that is fine. I look at an LGS as a fine way to use the cardboard as an avenue to make money, but not everybody has the willpower to open up an LGS these days. And more importantly, a lot of people don't have the willpower to sell cards at what their actual rate should be because they are, they're kind of stuck in a mentality of they have to consistently fight the market. If your price isn't the lowest, somebody else will price it lower. You won't make a sale. You won't be able to pay your bills at the end of the month, and that'll be the case. But we're not here to talk about LGSs, okay? We're here to talk about what makes Magic fun for you, right? What is Magic the Gathering to you, the viewer, right? All you Dragonfolk out there, the ones that play Magic, right? Even if you don't play it, right? The ones that enjoy this content of Magic the Gathering, the ones that enjoy the game itself, the lore maybe, something of the sort. What is it that draws you into something like Magic the Gathering? And like I said, a competitive scene for me is exactly what did it. That's my highest priority on there. Was I am a competitive player, and I like to play competitively on a regular basis. But I can't find any place to play standard at an LGS. And that's on me. You kind of have to find out, because it used to just be standard, right? Standard was like the thing that every store played at Friday Night Magic. That was the game. But as time went on and Modern became more popular, and then Commander became more popular, and Pioneer is now becoming a pretty big deal in a lot of scenes, it's hard for Standard to keep up in regards to that, because more people enjoy playing the non-rotating formats, as it just makes sense to do so. A non-rotating format gives you a bigger pool of cards to look through, and you don't have to keep up with the times. If your deck is good and you have a pretty good win ratio with that deck, the only thing it can do is become better with new cards that are released. But you don't have to change out your entire deck with rotation, which is really good. But over the course of the Pan Pizza, competitive scenes died down a lot. I had to become a lot more casual because LGSs stopped doing competitive play. They stopped having in-person play. Wizards of the Coast even stopped doing any kind of, pro tour or championship kind of in-person play. They stopped supporting a lot of the competitive players and their formats because they didn't view that was probably going to be the good avenue, especially with something like the Pan Pizza happening at the time. That hurt me a lot as a competitive player, right? That hurt, and I wasn't going to a bunch of LGSs because obviously I started in the midst of probably the worst time to get into Magic the Gathering, being 2020. I was very much so disappointed that I couldn't find a place to play at. And so I started getting more into collecting because I knew I couldn't play. Then once places opened up, I got a little bit more into competitive play, but I wanted to play Standard. Standard, unfortunately, was not available for very long because a lot of people wanted to play Pioneer instead, or they wanted to play Commander. And I didn't have the funds to go out and buy a Pioneer deck, and I certainly didn't want to play Commander against a bunch of people who I didn't know because my social anxiety is riddled through my body. Not to mention the fact that I would pretty much just buy a precon and bring it to an LGS full of people who have been playing the game for like 20 plus years, and I knew I was going to get stomped. So I just didn't bother spending the money. So I found out through my competitive scenes, right? And through doing so, I found Magic the Gathering Arena. And Arena has become quickly my more preferred way to play competitive Magic. And that's strictly because, well, unless I, pull out $500 out of my butt, I can make a pretty okay deck to play in a Pioneer League at F&M at my locals. And I could do that, for the sake of winning. You get prizes and so on and so forth. You get credibility with the players there. It's good, but is it worth my money when I can play competitively online through Arena? If I just play Explorer instead of playing Pioneer, I can afford to play an Explorer deck on Arena because, well, it doesn't cost me anything besides some wild cards. And I barely spend any kind of money on Arena. I mean, I think I've maybe spent like $50 at any one point. Normally, it's just because I buy the season passes, the battle passes or whatever, those are usually a pretty good offer. But that's where most of my competitive play comes in from now, is strictly through Arena. I don't go to an LGS to play competitively anymore because I can essentially test out everything that I need to on Arena without having to pay a dime. And that certainly is a pretty big benefit. Now, as far as my collecting goes, right, I do like to collect every now and again, but most of my collecting has kind of peeled my eyes towards the older sets, right, such as the Dark or Alliances or even Tempest and Ice Age. I'm looking at those sets and I'm going, wow, I'd like to at least own a master set of them, because I am a silly set collector. That's right. You heard it here. I'm a set collector. And I shouldn't be set collecting in 2022 because any of these new sets, almost impossible to fully collect and without spending like at least $1,000, because there's so many different variants, so many different cards, that even if you were to get a master set of one of each card in its normal and foil version of every variant, you'd be looking at well over $1,000 for, tons of cards. And the sad part is that 97% of the cards in a set that are dropped today are worthless, right around anywhere between like 50 cents and below, maybe even less, to be entirely honest. It's more like 10 cents and below for like 97% of the cards in a set, which is so awful. But it does mean that you can collect about 97% of the, entirety of that set pretty quickly. But a lot of your money is brought in that last 3% where, you have the mythics, and the mythics come in 4 different variants, and those 4 different variants have a foil and a non-foil. And sometimes the mythics are really good, so they do fetch a higher price, such as Shieldred right now. But, at the end of the day, I still do like what I like about Magic. And I think those are the things that are going to keep me going. Of course, one of my most favorite things I enjoy about the Magic the Gathering experience is the gathering with all of you. I may have social anxiety in person, but behind this camera, I'm your man. Look at me, right? I've never dressed like this a day in my life. I'm the happiest I could ever be. And that's because I'm just talking to you guys in a camera. But I love the community, right? The fact that we can all band together to do something, to make a fan format like Commander or like Pauper, and create something that is going to bring all of us joy, whether that be in a multiplayer format or in a 1v1 format. There are so many different avenues to go down, and we can all still find a way to play the game that we love, or even just collect things from the game that we love without having to make such a huge sacrifice. There's a lot of picking and choosing that needs to go on with Magic the Gathering right now, and I think that's kind of the big turnaround for this. A lot of people are just quitting. They're going, well, this is it, right? Like, I can't keep up with all the product. I have to quit. Like, well, the thing is, you don't have to keep up with all the product, okay? If you don't buy a single box of Dominaria United, the world will not burn down. If you don't buy any of the singles that you want from Dominaria United right now, don't worry about it. The world will not burn down. Work on your assets, work on bettering yourself as a person, and in due time, that will come. We're not looking at things like alpha and beta that only had, a few thousand of each card printed. That is not the case we're looking at anymore. These cards are brand new to Magic, and you're going to be able to find a Phyrexian Shieldred at any point in the next 10 years. I am certain of it. Will it be more expensive? Maybe, right? That depends on whether or not everything gets reprinted in a special secret layer, or maybe some other special product is made and that contains all of the cards that you already were looking to buy, but in a special set. I mean, I was going to buy all of the original Praetors when I first heard about Vorinclex being in Kaldheim, and I went, wow, I don't know much about Phyrexia. Let me check it out. I did some research. I looked at some things, and I went, wow, Phyrexian Praetors are sick. Oh, they have older versions of themselves? Let me see. And I went, well, I could probably go and buy them, right? Have these cards. Then they came out with a secret layer with all of them in Phyrexian text, all 5. And I went, well, now I don't need to worry. $50 later, I have one sitting up there. And that was because it's what I wanted. I didn't need to buy every secret layer in the super drop. I just wanted the Praetors, so it's the one that I got. And I think that's the big takeaway, again, right, is choosing what you love about Magic the Gathering. Because while Wizards of the Coast may be printing out a whole bunch of product and throwing a bunch of things to collectors and throwing a bunch of stuff to commander players and throwing a bunch of stuff to investors, maybe they're working on specific product that is not, really meant for one or the other. And then they have product for beginners and people just starting, like the starter commander decks or even Jumpstart. They have different tiers worth of product coming out, all meant for different people. I mean, the collector's edition of packs, their specific collector boxes have the word collectors in them, right? It's not meant for players like you and I who are just looking to get cards to upgrade our deck to open, right? Those are meant for collectors who want the more special version of the card. Now, if you're a set collector, that may be something that you might want to get. Or, again, you could just wait until somebody else opens them, and you can just go ahead and buy them through that avenue. There's plenty of different ways to still enjoy Magic in the way that it is. And it is still very expensive. I will not deny that. There are several games that are less expensive and more permanent in their purchases as far as gameplay goes and as far as, trying to find your way through the community goes. But I still have faith that Magic is going to do well. I just think that you kind of have to no longer diversify. I think now you have to find what you want to get into and you have to stick with it. There's always going to be a casual scene because Commander is going to be incredibly popular forever, right? There may not be a huge competitive scene, but if it is something you like, there is a competitive scene for sure. I mean, obviously, they're still running World Championships, which are going to be over this upcoming weekend. And you have all this ranked ladder stuff on Arena that you can use. You have, you can still go to your LGS and win tournaments. They have LGS championships now where you can become a champion at your LGS by playing whatever format it is that they're doing and winning prize cards. They have just regular game day stuff where you can get cool game day things to bring people in and play. So there's still a competitive edge to that. The collectors, of course, there's brand new variants of cards being brought out left and right. The secret layers are all very much so collector specific. And if you wanted special cards and weird art, like, look at the Extra Life stuff that's coming out where it's children's drawings being turned into Magic the Gathering cards. I think that's such a neat concept. And it's something that you're probably not going to get anywhere else besides secret layers. So the collectors is where you're going to want to, you're going to want to look at that. You're going to want to look at those kind of products. And investors, of course, are going to continue to do what investors do. You guys all know. I even know. I'm not a huge investor. I even know, right? If a product is incredibly specific and the odds of it being reprinted again in mass are so incredibly low, it's probably a good thing to be invested in, right? You look at the 2020 product for Magic the Gathering and you go, well, not a lot of it was produced because nobody was buying it in person from shops and because all the shops were shut down and a lot of people were just playing Commander at home. So not a whole ton of people really bought a bunch of boxes and nobody had a ton of money. So 2020 products is a great thing to start with. You look at Throne of Eldraine, it's doing really well. Look at the Here Be Dragons stuff. Here Be Dragons is a secret lair that only 10,000 of them were ever made. And that is an investor's product because only 10,000 of them were ever made. You're guaranteed to make money off of it. I bought 2 of them and I've essentially 5x'd my profit since owning them. And it's only going to go up from there. So finding your avenue is going to be kind of the harder part, but just take a step back and look at the game that you love, right? Look at what Magic the Gathering means to you. Because if it means something like the community and having fun and playing with your friends and just having a couple beers and really enjoying your time, you can continue to play Commander, and that's going to be really, really fun for you. You can play Emperor for all we care. If you are a competitive player and you want to play competitive, you go to an LGS and find out what their FNM format is and learn to be competitive through that avenue. Play something that you're comfortable playing, or try to build a meta deck and win with that. There's always going to be something, and I think this is what we really need to hear in a time like this, because there's a lot of rage and a lot of anger towards Wizards of the Coast. But I think they've really shown that it's not a everything is for everyone concept now, right? They've come out with chase cards in the past, and that has a pretty high premium on the secondary market, right? They've come out with, special foilings and so on and so forth for things, and that has been a collector's game for a long while. You have people who collect all the planeswalkers. I know so many people who collect just Chandras. Like, anytime a Chandra is printed, they gotta purchase a Chandra. They gotta buy Chandra in foil and non-foil from that set, and they gotta collect them all. There's so many avenues, and it's all about just finding what you love about Magic, what Magic means to you. So hopefully this was not just me rambling at a camera today. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about me, and hopefully I could get through to all of you in regards to finding out what it is that Magic means to you, and hopefully we can all kind of come together and I can continue to make content for everybody who wants said content. Just because I'm a competitive player doesn't mean I won't make casual content. My YouTube channel is a completely different concept, and I really do enjoy everything about making content for you, the Magic the Gathering community, and the Dragonfolk here on my channel and in my heart. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble for a little while. Let me know in the comments down below what Magic the Gathering means to you. I am curious to learn from all of you if there is a specific niche that you like, whether it be competitive or casual or collector, investor, flipper. Maybe you just like card games in general, and this is just one of them, Whatever you want it to be, let me know in the comments down below. I'd be more than happy to hear from you. And while you're down there, make sure to like the video and also subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And I will see you all very soon. Nerd out.